When we started out, I mean, of course, we heard about band. We saw The Damned on TV. We got the first Sex Pistols single, and we heard about The Clash. And of course, we knew it was Ramones and stuff like that. But there really wasn't much of a scene. And then one band started in Vancouver called The Furies. That was the first band. And they bought over this other band, a really extraordinary band called the Dish Rags. And there's like three 15-year-old girls from Victoria, British Columbia. And they came over, and that was kind of the first punk rock show. And we saw these posters, kind of went punk rock.
In late '76, you know, I really wanted to get a band happening, a proper band. So I stuck a little a notice up in a local hippie store on 4th Avenue, 4th and Burrard, which was near the Long McQuaid, which is a local music place. And this will be a good place. I'll attract some musicians. And I put up a little piece of paper and it said, rock and roll guitarist, looking for musicians into the New York sound. Because I didn't want, any sort of, I didn't want any Eagle stuff or any of these guys, which, Kit Salino, where I lived at the time, was full of these guys.
Came to Vancouver and the Furies were practicing. And so after seeing these guys actually playing, this is our first experience of seeing punk rockers in the flesh. And it was just a great inspiration. They were really energetic.
They were so exciting. Yeah.
And their manager was there, and because the three of us had played together as a band, we weren't punk rockers at that time, but when the Furies manager was there, and she said, could you guys do something for this show that we're organizing? So she put us on the bill, and we thought, oh my God.
Yeah. We were kind of on the bill before we were even rehearsing, and getting ready.
Yeah. So there's nothing like having a gig and some publicity to get your act together.
Kind of like the gig this summer.
That's right. Exactly. We were 15 at that time too, so it was really intimidating to come over.
Around 1978, July of '78 actually. It was kind of Brian here and our original drummer, Dimwit Ken Montgomery, were in the Skulls, which is a really early Vancouver punk band. And Jerry was one of their circle of friends too. And we got the Subhumans kind of together out of the ashes of the Skulls, basically at the same time the D.O.A was formed.
Well, for the real trivia buff, there actually was a three-piece version of the Subhumans with Dimwit, Brad Kent, and myself, and then we fired Brad Kent and absorbed Mike and Jerry from the Stiffs.
Was that the original?
Yeah.
It was probably early '76, although we started out as this band called Loverboy when we were in high school, and we had these two guys from South Seattle on drums and bass. The drummer died, but he used to look like Mick Ronson, so we knew we had to have him in the band. And the bass player was this really crazed Japanese-American kid called Jeff Cade, and he was really quiet, but he was quite bizarre in his own way. And anyway, we played our high school, which was Roosevelt High School. We played a Bowie song and an Alice Cooper song and kind of caused this riot. And shortly after that, Jim asked me to play bass, and so we formed this new band and started writing all original material and started playing people's houses. But the first real show we played was in May, on May 1st in 1976, and we rented our own hall, played with this band, the Telepaths and the Tupperwares, who later became the Screamers down in LA.
Early on in Seattle, which was predated me a little bit, that we had the Screamers and the Weirdos were up here, and the Lewd, and they were pretty different too. But about my time when we started playing, there was kind of a drought in Seattle because there was no opportunity to go any further than where you were. So the bands that had ambition, that had been playing for a while, they left to kind of seek greener pastures or seek a better deal than they could get here. And when we started playing, it was a matter of just being able to go down and play at the Showbox. Because you worked security there, or play at the Gorilla Room, or the the independent shows that people put on, like at the IOF Hall. And the Enemy had disbanded. They were going to be the big one, and the Avengers didn't come up here anymore. And so it was just a little fertile dish for people to start out.
Well, I'd sang with Black Flag on their. Snuck into their first over 21 show and sang Nervous Breakdown with them. And I realized I could actually have the balls to get up there and do that. And I wanted to start my own band. And then Paul had run an ad in the paper. I answered his ad. We hooked up. He had American Youth and Dead Soldier already written. And so we developed our sound with just me and him. And then we got a bass player for my girlfriend. We put up an ad at the Showbox. Got a tour as a drummer.
We were friends with those guys in Soldier.
Yeah.
And we met Loud. Actually, Tommy Hansen, he was playing in Chaos, which was Loud's band.
Suburbs out north, and I got into punk rock because it was something to do, I guess, that didn't require any training or schooling or anything like that. It's a punk rock thing. You start the band before you know how to play.
Originally wasn't a band. It was a concept. As retarded as this sounds. I mean, it was this imaginary band that I wasn't even in at the beginning. You know, when it was really imaginary. It had like some other people involved, and it was named after a math teacher, Mr. Calculations. And so when we decided to make a real band, before we would like go over to like Darren's house because he had a drum set, and it was a really good drummer. He was the only one of us that had any kind of talent. And we would go over to his house and just make noise with whatever was in hand, you know, and record it onto like just a shitty little cassette player, you know, not even a boombox. Those weren't even invented yet, and we would just kind of get off on making noise, and at one point, you know, Smitty and I decided to go halves on a guitar and amp.
In a band called Apple Maggot Quarantine Area. We started when we were in high school, just 4 dumb young kids from Puyallup for sure, and we got together in my living room for the first time, and then we just started practicing at our bass player's bedroom, more or less. And then we, all of a sudden, next thing we knew, we were getting asked to put out a 7-inch by Dave Portnow at Subcore Records, and which led to us going down and playing in San Francisco. And we were all like 18 years old, and we played on a show with Christ on Parade, MDC, Final Conflict, Neurosis, Clown Alley, just this insane list of bands that we'd all been listening to and idolizing for the year prior. And next thing you know, we're down playing a show with them.
At the time, for me, you know, it was more like just you know, this thing that I had to do, and it was just like me as a you know, a person. I you know, wanted to play hardcore. You know, it was just like the energy, the individuality of just like, you know, who I am, what I believe in. You know, the low level or so much. It's like kind of like I just, you know, it's fun to play fast. You know, but you know, lyrically and stuff.
But don't you think also from that era of like 80, whenever we got into it, 80, 81 to like 87, 88, I mean, that's when we, like, all the bands that we liked, I mean, we were just like, well, let's get into band, because there weren't hardly any bands, you know. It was like, I mean, we literally, you know, he just had a snare drum when we started playing, and I had a guitar that I hooked into my stereo.
On my birthday, when I turned 16, we went to the OK Hotel and saw a show with Aspirin Feast opening, and we were like, wow, that's so easy, we could do that. We don't have to play metal. We could just play punk and get away with it. So.
I was in a band that the fellas all sort of, you know, went their separate ways and did stuff, and one summer I was kind of just, I'd gone to pick cherries, and when I came back I decided that I was going to try to figure something new out, and there was a cat that hung out at this punk rock house that we lived in Olympia, and said he played drums, and you know, so when I got back I sought him out, and two of us just, it's Craig Becker's, the guy's name, is the original drummer for Fitz. Yeah, we just kind of spent a whole summer in this garage, like just rocking out. And I was supposed to be the bass player for Fitz originally, but in Olympia there was no guitar players, and there was piles of bass players, so I went, screw it, I'll play guitar.
Well, we started out as a Drugstore. Was our original band name back in but we all came from other bands, but we came
Victoria originally.
Victoria originally, and then we kind of moved over here. He was in a band called Shutdown. We were in a bunch of other bands through the 90s, and then we came together over here and called ourselves Drugstore. But we found out with the name like Drugstore, it just opens the door to just too many bad things. So we changed our name.
There was also a British band called Drugstore that was going to sue us.
That's right, yeah. So for some reason we were a threat to them. So we thought we'd tone the name down to the excessives, which really didn't curb any of the booze or drugging intake at all. But no, and we've been going for 10 years.
Yeah.
Solid.
Early 90s. We all played in different bands. We all hung out, drank beers together, but we were all sick of dealing with assholes that played music that didn't have any direction. So we all just kind of decided to start our own band. It's kind of how it worked.
I used to play in a bunch of punk bands and a bunch of really fucked up bands. And as a joke, I was like, I'm gonna play solo acoustic, try out a couple different shows. Just because a lot of the songs that I was singing, no one could really understand the lyrics properly because of how fast we were playing the songs. So I just figured, hey, I'm gonna tone down the speed of the songs, do them acoustic style, so that people can actually hear the lyrics and then see if they get it and if they enjoy it. And people started to enjoy it, so I just started doing it more.
And I knew this artist named Casey Angel, who does a lot of stuff for The Accused. And I just called him up on the phone and said, hey, I think I'm going to start this band when I get home. Will you draw something for it? And I told him what I was going to do, and it was just like a thought. And that was like in '95, and he drew that. And then when we got home from that tour, that was in my mailbox, that art. And it was this like rockabilly guy sitting on a couple of tires with a thing and a flame going off the back, and it said Hot Rod Lunatics in the flames. And then I asked Tom Niemeyer to be the guitar player. And it was just me and my thought of this thing. And he kind of didn't really, take much interest in it. And I couldn't find anybody else. And then I noticed that Alex was playing guitar, and he was playing in, it was kind of grunt truck. I think everybody was in grunt truck. I was in grunt truck too for a little bit. And at the end of that, when that was going down, Tom was doing a band called Hellcat. And that was Alex was in a band with Tom called Hellcat. And Tom was singing, and Chris Godey was playing drums, and Alex was playing guitar, and he was playing lead. And I remember watching it sounded awesome. So I asked him if he wanted to do it. And it wasn't like, let's just do this for fun on the side. We just started doing it.
We all kind of grew up in the same area of BC and knew each other, these people. And then we all kind of moved to Vancouver around the same time.
Me and Tom played in a band when...
Yeah, and me and Chris played in a band
14.
when we were kids. Yeah, so...
Like 12 years ago?
Yeah.
11 years ago?
And then we all kind of wound up in Vancouver at about the same time, and then Steph and I were like, okay, let's start a band, and then found Aaron and Georgia Strait ad, and then Chris was my roommate then, kept wanting to be in the band, kept telling him no, he kept quitting bands whenever they started to get good, he quit them. I don't know, something about...
Radio plays on.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so he kept quitting bands, and so finally we said, all right, we could try, and then that was that.
Like Meadows and Maple Ridge and stuff, actually, which is like suburbs of Vancouver. And I don't know, I started getting into it. If you want to have a good laugh with like Rancid and Good Charlotte and shit like that back in grade 9, and just started finding better and better music as time went by. And there's a bit of a small scene in Maple Ridge and Meadows. There's like 2 bands down there, and eventually I started a band down there, and started trying to put together shows with one of my friends who was also in the band. And then, yeah, I don't know, I just moved up here.
As far as I know, the person, everybody that started the band, we all kicked out. So, who can answer that question with those guys? You want to call them up? I think I still have their numbers.
So the band kind of fell together, and this seems to be a really good setup.
Goes out to anybody that works in the retail industry in any way, shape, or form. It's all about getting hit on by fucking assholes who you want nothing to do with whatsoever. So it goes out to everyone. From me.
Thank you. You're welcome.
This song's called Just Cause You Wanna Fuck Me Doesn't Mean I Wanna Fuck You. Emo song number 2.
You give me that vacant stare. You say you want a piece of me and that I should be honored. Not to be up on a pedestal, but to be in a group with others. Just because you wanna fuck me, it doesn't mean I wanna fuck you. Just because you wanna fuck me, it doesn't mean I wanna fuck you. You can poke my eyes and cut my toes, you still change my mind. Even if you are the last person on earth, think I'd rather die. Why can't you get it through your head that you are not my type? I am tired of your little game, so go and get a new life. Just because you wanna fuck me, it doesn't mean I wanna fuck you. Just because you wanna fuck me, doesn't mean I wanna fuck you. Doesn't mean I wanna fuck you. Doesn't mean I wanna fuck, doesn't mean I wanna fuck, doesn't mean I wanna fuck you.
music was in a morass of sludgy, overproduced crap. You think about like Fleetwood Mac and Boston, and in Canada was a horrible band called Prism, which is one of my true inspirations to play punk rock because they suck so bad, right? So, but real good influences to me at that time were like the New York Dolls, Iggy Pop. We hear about Iggy Pop, and wow, this guy's really fucking crazy type thing. We didn't know much about him. We're just teenagers, right? You know. And then about '76, we started seeing ads for the Ramones, for the Ramones album, and it said the most unusual record in 6 years. I don't know who thought up that fucking slogan. They should have said the most unusual record in 20 years or something, but the most unusual one in 6 years, right? So
as I said, there was like no indie scene, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing about the early Vancouver scene was that there was a great variety of bands. You know, it wasn't just a lot of like punk bands and stuff like that, but there was art bands and queer bands and
when it first started, it was
kid bands.
It was such a small scene with so few people trying to do bands, making original music that kind of all knew each other.
The inspiration was seeing shows like Black Flag or D.O.A. at the Showbox, and
what was really, I mean, to me it was a T-Rex record, which I showed Jim, and he showed me Ziggy Stardust record. And from that moment it was like, oh my God, what's this? The Stooges, what's this? The New York Dolls, Slade, Roxy Music, Brian Eno, Robert Fripp. I mean, all of this really different, I mean, one band to the next, it was very different, but really exciting. And
477, high school bands. We were always into aggressive, raunchy music. We were influenced by the Dolls, stuff you weren't hearing on the radio. We just sort of saw them on Saturday Night Live once. Great band. And Velvet Underground, I love them. White Light, White Heat is my favorite record. And then, of course, Bowie happened, and got into that. That's what made me get my white Les Paul, listening to Nick Ronson, Wail Away. And I love the chunky bar chords, which most mainstream acts in the early 70s weren't into. Like a lot of noodling, like Boston, and really high tech. You'd go to a show and these guys would have stacks of speakers and all this fucking gear, and everything was very clinical, and we just hated it. And we started, me and the first bass player in the Furies, whose name was Malcolm Hasman. He and I, he was a real rock and roller, and we just got together and played in bands in high school, put our own shows, in the gymnasium, all original music.
Well, Santa was actually had really good punk bands, which were kind of 77, 78, 79. There was good bands, but they constantly would move away. The Lewd was my favorite band, and there was the U District bands. The kids who went to Roosevelt High. Duff played in several of those. There was Rob Morgan and his Fish Sticks and other bands that he'd been in, and there's other bands that had kind of a punky bar bands. So it was pretty good, and there was a progression coming, but it came to a point where I wanted personally to find a pure expression of punk rock and what I believed it could be, because I thought it was lacking in Seattle, and actually it was to the point where I wanted to make a statement of kind of fuck you to what was going on.
We would listen to a band like Black Flag, and then we'd hear a band like The Farts, and we'd go, oh, we have our own, So that was kind of like, well, there's this band, The Farts. Fuck art, let's fart. We were like, where is it? Oh, it was hard to find it, man. And then I think really early on, we saw Rejectors at a house party, right? Was it Rejectors? That house party on Sprague.
Oh, that was at Dan Kempthorne's house.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
I think it was. We saw Rejectors, and then Rejectors Accused, and those were both pretty big influences to...
I remember the first time I heard, like Devo or the Germs or something like that. It just, that was like nothing else.
Oh, yeah, for sure. God, that Germs record, listen to that back then, it's like, whoa. That first Black Flag single.
It had to be The Accused. That was like one of the first ones that I got to see because I was into metal, and so that's the reason I went to see them, but they were right on that borderline as far as punk and metal, and they always had punk bands opening for them, like Last Gasp or the Derelicts, and seeing those just definitely led me more in a punk rock direction. I was like, whoa, this stuff's a lot cooler than metal, and you know, and people, wow, they sort of dropped this snobby attitude and fashion attitude that metal had.
As far as influences, I'd say fucking The Accused was a huge one, The Real Accused, you know, and in the Northwest, I mean, there was Subvert and fucking, yeah, there's a bunch of them, you know, but.
We kind of discovered punk in kind of a roundabout way, like, you know, I was thoroughly dissatisfied with the music that I was hearing on the radio in the 70s. Every once in a while you'd hear a song by like The Nuge, and that'd be kind of cool, or you know, it was like the hardest and gnarliest it got, right?
Well, like, you know, I'm sure you probably heard this a bunch, but the Melvins, when I was a kid, they were like the house band at that place, Tropicana I was talking about. Like, it seemed like they played every week there. And that's when they were hardcore. They were really fast and just blazing. Like, you know, one day it just sort of went, you know, and they put on the brakes really fast. But yeah, when they were first coming about, they were super fast, and I still considered them hardcore. They were certainly a big influence. There was, you know, there was bands like Subvert. Let's see, I'm drawing a blank here. What's the Rejectors, I dug a lot. Me and Jerry are old friends, he's a cool guy. The first Accused EP with John singing, I dug that a lot. That got regular play on my turntable, for sure. The first U-Men EP, that was great. That sort of was, you know, something I wasn't really into at the time, but once I heard that, it was like, wow, this is really, you know, really crazy and kind of experimental, and it definitely had an impact and an influence.
So I was going to a stamp collection, or a stamp thing, but it was Black Flag and Circle Jerks, and then they came to pick me up, and there was a cop car upside down on fire. And they realized it wasn't really a stamp.
All downhill from there.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and in Victoria, because we live on kind of grew up on an island, a lot of bands didn't really come over there, but we had like No Means No, and we had the Dago Abortions, which were great. They play like every weekend. So in this, basically in this house called the Rat's Nest, which was a great place to see punk bands, and again, it was kind of scary. We were really super young.
I was influenced a lot by the Victoria punk scene, because I was like 19, just turned 19, I moved to Victoria because of their punk scene that they had there at the time was bands like Goat Boy, Shut Down, Nothing to Lose was playing at that time, like it used to be Loot Bag, now like AK-47.
Yeah,
Bristle,
Soldier
too.
Nirvana, the farts are pretty good.
And the Lewd.
Kill yourself!
there was a big connection between Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver, and all the bands would play back and forth. Usually for us, it was on the way up and down the coast, right?
Yeah.
I think our first experience in Seattle was we played this place called The Bird, and Robert somebody, or he was the booking guy, and he kind of hated us, but he booked us, right? And we were really bad. Brad, our guitar player, never showed up. He was getting drunk in San Francisco. And then, so I haven't played guitar in a long time. So we played this miserable show. We opened up for this band called The Enemy. They're one of the early Seattle bands, right? And we got $25, and that was about it. But the next show we played was really great because it was like Dish Rags. This was probably like later in '78 at the Washington Hall. I guess in the U District, I think, and it was us, Dish Rags, I can't remember the rest, right? But it was great, and people kind of went nuts and went like, wow, the towns.
Yeah, we played Seattle quite a lot too.
Yeah.
A lot,
Yeah.
Probably as much.
A lot of people thought we were a Seattle band actually, because we were there a lot. We were really welcomed there. The people who put out the first single were from there. They approached us.
U.S.? No, we just did one show. We had a promoter down there. His name was Robert Roberts. He might still be around. He used to have a magazine called Twisted. You ever come across copies of that? They did a big feature on us in there, and the Skulls, which is Joey's early band, and the Dish Rags. And they did a big feature on us, and he did the show, but that was it. Because I think the Seattle, I'm not sure about how the Seattle scene was. You should talk to John later, but he thinks the Seattle scene was a little more developed than here, like as far as the fashion end of it, the style. But the sound I found was not up to where we were at. We were into just, Marshall Stack.
The border is obviously, I think it's a much more formidable obstacle today than it was. I think we managed to get down there fairly early on in our career. Just giggers and we were playing down at the Bird down there, and we went back a third of the time. There weren't that many Seattle bands that came up here in the very early days. I guess there were a couple.
The Lude came up a couple,
I think the
at least
Mentors
once
came
or
up.
twice.
The Lude, they're from
Seattle.
God, we used to play with D.O.A. and the Subhumans all the time.
Yeah.
Before the tragic events of 11, 18?
Tragic events of when I lost my wallet?
Tragic events of 9/11, sorry.
Oh, that one.
Different
All right.
That before
Different
then it was great, and then it just seems like, as you know, coming up here and stuff, it's just such that little strip of cops that separates us from you is just such a deterrent now. Before then you can just kind of sail down and play shows, but now it's not as fun.
Hey, you're telling me you're going to get gas, even though your car's full of equipment. We're just jamming, but we're going to go get some cheap gas. So we'll be right back.
But yeah, no, we played at the Storeroom was the first place we go and play. It was great. And
There's the place with the basketball net.
Oh, that's Zach's. It's the Funhouse now. Yeah. That was great. Yeah, we'd stay at the Storeroom. We'd bring our van down and we'd park up top, which we would stay and sleep there, or stay there. And then, we'd play down. We just play the show, go up there, and then when the sun came out, we'd drive back to the border. And now it's not, can't really do that.
generation gap.
Yeah.
You know, I think last really 24-year-olds nowadays were the last really good teens of the scene. You know, there's still people there, but they're kind of going, I think nowadays, more off what they see now. You know, not so much of a local end of it, but it's more of a national.
I've noticed the attitude has kind of shifted, you know, from one extreme to another extreme. Things are a lot more mellow at shows now, whereas like when I started going to shows in 1986, you know, people were fucking insane. You know, I mean, you would go to a show and you could get your ass kicked within a minute. That's just the way it was.
I got expelled from high school for having a mohawk. I don't really think they'd do that to you now. I mean, like, y'all ain't going to school. It's a little different these days. You can obtain it. You couldn't, you know, you can go to Target and get a studded wristband. Where were you going to get a studded wristband back then? I mean,
the gay leather shop is where you got.
So then you got to take you got to take your ass in there and go, you know, sift through all the cock rings to find a wristband studded. Are these really what these are?
You don't get beat up for having weird hair anymore. You don't get beat up for looking different or having a different idea about the way the world is or the way the world should be. I'd say that's a lot to do with it. It was fucking dangerous back then. You know, and I guess maybe not necessarily for me, but well, yeah, I got a lot of shit for it. But now it's cool. Yeah, it's cool to be punk.
Well, I mean, just like look at like I mean, look at that show, the fucking Meet the Barkers or whatever on MTV. I mean, dude, come on, that Blink-182. It's like it's just all about money, you know.
Back then, I think a lot of people were more giving a shit about what punk rock really was, and they're not walking around trying to hornswaggle everybody's definition of the word punk, you know, and you know. It's too commercialized, too corporate nowadays, and people are just like, hey, punk rock, because they shot at Hot Topic, look at my fake bullet belt. And you're sitting there going, wow, that's totally what punk rock's all about, you know, buying bullet belts and dyeing your hair and pissing off your mom and dad, you know. And back then, the people who did it, they wanted to do it for a reason. Nowadays, you know, it's just not the same, and now you hear all this stuff on the radio and they're calling it punk rock, the flavor of the month, the flavor of the week, and you're sitting there like, no, that's not punk rock. This is garbage. Top 40 shite.
Oh, well, it certainly went radio friendly, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like, you know, at the time when we were going about it, people were just, you know, starting bands because they were, you know, they enjoyed music, they were passionate about it, you know, and really for lack of anything better to do, you know, people wanted to rock out and express themselves in that way.
Well, some young people seem to think you can actually make money doing this.
Well, now I guess
Some
young people do.
I know. That's what.
I'm actually having more fun now. Like back maybe when I was a little younger, you playing it was kind of like you were trying to kind of make a career out of it, more or less, and which was virtually impossible. And
also, I mean, when you were a punk, you were assured being shit kicked wherever you went. Everybody hated you. Now it's like, yeah, green hair, mohawk, whatever.
Yeah, it's cap ads and stuff, and yeah, it was kind of better back when it was a little bit more of a renegade outlaw thing, you know, and just kind of dangerous.
Yes.
Dug that. You're not know that show in Courtney. Yeah, you know.
Yes.
Big, huge rumble. Yeah, you know, you get the
jocks would show up just to beat the shit out of a bunch of punk rockers.
Exactly.
There's kind of this trendy thing to it now, where I don't really, I don't know how to say it without, because I mean, really, there's a lot of great bands, but I wouldn't consider them really punk rock, but they want to consider themselves punk rock. Well, you know, it's like, you know, we're punk rock and we dress punk rock, and you know, I don't know.
To me, it's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of ironic. I remember, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, kind of having this realization. I'd walk down the street and you see, you know, gutter punks or whatever, and they'd have the leather jacket and all the patches and stuff. And I remember walking along and thinking, you know, they're probably looking at me, and here's this guy. He's just, you know, old, you know, square dude, normal dude. And I look at him like most of the patches and most of the bands are bands that I listen to in the day. And I'm thinking to myself, this is like, I mean, it's cool in a way because it's like, you know, what generation is wearing the bands on their sleeves of their dads? But at the same time, it's kind of sad because it's kind of like having oldies on your arm or something, you know. I mean, it makes sense that I listen to it, and we listen to it, we like it still, and it's, you know, it's kind of nostalgic at the same time. But and I think that's one of the reasons that it's hard to have very many new punk bands and have them be kind of seem real.
It's definitely safer, and you can trust your kids to go to the shows without having to worry about them getting hurt. Back in my day, you could get beat up by a punk or a cop from coming out of a show, so it's safer, and kids can't change. I mean, they can't make it original. They can't reinvent punk rock, you know. So they're just stuck with what they got, you know. And there's some kids that are playing some good music out there, so, and I enjoy the kid bands a lot.
You know, I used to get beat up for wearing combat boots. I used to get beat up for, you know, having a mohawk and green hair. And then, you know, in the mid-90s, it just became, you go to your local mall and you get pierced, and you get, you know, your green hair dye for the weekend, and there you
You
go.
didn't have to put any effort into it.
And so you should go to the mall and get your pierced ears and color hair and go to the mall and do it and bring punk to the mall.
But see, that's what
And
bugs
rip
me
it
the
up.
most, though, is that, you know, you can look like Joe Schmo off the street, and, you know, the kids will look at you funny because you don't look punk. But, you know, it's not about looking punk. The whole point of punk to begin with is that you were in your heart saying fuck off, you know what I mean? And so you know,
Well, the thing about it is that everybody still is saying fuck off. It's just that now it's more accepted. Just like killing people.
It's like you never used to be able to find punk rock at the mall. It's more like you would get beat up at the mall, right? So now it's all there. You can get a black sweatshirt with a perfect little pink anarchy across the front, right? And it's all pre-made and preset, and you have the bands that go with it, like the Charlotte or the Blink-182 or whatever, you know. What can you do? I mean, it's like, you know, in essence, hopefully these bands have something to say. That's kind of my bent with the younger bands now that are like really big with kids and stuff like that, and that's so enjoying.
None of us wore like leather jackets and had like Liberty spikes or studs, and you know, when it was time to get some boots, I made sure to get brown boots because I didn't want to have black boots because that was, you know, just the whole idea, like to me at the time, and you know, punk rock was supposed to be about individual expression, and the thing that just drove me crazy was that like these kids would all try to, you know, look the same and dress the same and act the same and like the same things, and to me that was just no different than, you know, joining your high school whatever team. You know, you're wearing the same colors, you got the same look, you listen to the same things.
Part of that too is that like they found that marketing it like works, it sells. It doesn't matter. They could say like boys should now be wearing pink skirts, and if people think that's cool, they're gonna sell and they're gonna buy that. Kids are gonna buy into that, and like in a few years they'll grow out of like the punk rock look or whatever, and the kids that are actually into it will stick around, and the kids that are just in it for that phase or for the look, they're not gonna be a part of it. So I think it kind of like works itself out whether or not like the media or like marketing people want to advertise it and sell it to kids, because it could be selling anything, and right now it's just like the flavor of the week, I guess.
Well, I mean, it was like when all of a sudden, like, you know, like it was always like, you make your own shirts, you have your own thing, and then all of a sudden, every fucking kid's got a NoFX toque and a chain wallet, you know.
Yeah.
Big, you know, it's
shirts are $30.
$30 shirts, yeah, exactly.
Like what called the spiky-haired punk scene in Seattle. There's a band I played in called the Degenerates, and the crowd was really fashion conscious and really snobby, almost just like the metalheads that I first dealt with. Like if you didn't have the perfect mohawk or the perfect spikes, it was like looked down upon.
But a lot of them, they've got their education off going to the Warped Tour and thinking this is what you got to do to be popular, and you know they're probably right. You know what I mean? So they, you know, of course every kid that picks up a guitar or a drum set, they're like, wow, I'd sure like to be up on stage with thousands of people cheering, that kind of thing. You know, of course that's a thrill and inspiration. But they kind of missed part of the point of why punk rock existed in the first place, right? You know, of course it's about having fun and going crazy, but it's also about, you know, thinking.
Hey, and you know, let's face it, it's not a bad uniform. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you, I'm fucking tickled pink if I see a bunch of hardcore punkers waiting for the bus and a bunch of young boys covered in, you know, wearing leather and studs and mohawked it up with the, you know, the braces and boots and all that shit. I think that's excellent. I think it's just
better than those
great.
big baggy jeans. And
Absolutely. If they're raving it up, that's funny. If I see you know, I don't like, you know, you fucking kids don't know anything about it. Not in the least. I think it's great. I fucking like that. You know, you see a bunch of the, you know, GBH looking guys waiting for them. I think it's awesome. I like it.
What are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. Get out of here.
Dance ordinance had actually been put on the books in 1926 in Seattle to prevent sailors from dancing with young women when they came to port. And then it had kind of become something of the past.
The fact of what had happened with that, you know, with the monastery and the prostitution and the coke and all this shit, that's like coke and all that crap died out after the 80s, you know, a little bit, you know, in the mid 90s, you know, it became smack, you know, so it wasn't like, there weren't clubs out there that was producing that. It wasn't because of the teen dance ordinance. It was just like, it was a dance club. It had nothing to do with live music.
Yeah. It was a disco place first, wasn't it?
No, it was a church, and then it was
or when it became an entertainment.
Absolutely, when it went from
place.
hallowed to desecrated ground.
Well, wasn't at the beginning? Wasn't it like, I mean, under the guise of a
all ages club type thing?
Under the guise of a church.
Yeah,
because it was more gay.
Well, you see, which was how they could have almost a closed door type policy where you might not be able to walk in off the street. Like we couldn't have probably walked in off the street.
I never had any desire.
I never had any desire to go.
I think the guy who started it too was a disco hall. I think he became a born again Christian after that.
But that's what started that whole teen dance ordinance. Because before that, there was, you had the Metropolis, totally cool, no shit was ever going on. And then you had the Gray Door, which is a little bit more underground,
But they never stopped any of those. They blew million-ish. I saw Tales of Terror there twice.
Ground Zero.
those art places.
Yeah.
Roscoe Louie,
Monroe's
Graven
Dance
Image,
Palace. Monroe's Dance Palace was happening.
The upstairs, the Portage right now,
Danceland U.S.A, which was down there on First and Pike, where the Deja Vu is now. You'd go up
upstairs there. Used to be an actual dance hall.
Top of
wood
the court.
floors. They
Top of the court.
Top of the court. Yeah.
Scoundrel's Lair. That was another one.
Scoundrel's Lair, the Spider's Web.
Oh, yeah.
Columbia Way.
Yeah. That was a good one.
A buttload, just a complete buttload, and there was there was no shit that was happening that would make it bad.
Well, not any more than ever before. Right. It was all pretty much business as usual. Sometimes it'd be,
Well, I guess it died off when they did the Guerrilla Gardens. That was like about the last.
Yeah.
For that.
Well, it was about the end of that. Yeah.
Well, there was all kinds of allegations about George Freeman, the guy who ran the monastery, and if those things are true, then he should have been arrested and charged with crimes. But the kids of Seattle shouldn't have been prevented from listening to music and dancing and playing in bands. I mean, it doesn't even correlate that that's how the city responded. It doesn't make any sense. Someone is doing something you say is illegal, well, then do something about that, about the adult, not about kids who gravitate to music and dancing. I mean, they made the kids of this town pay the price for what an adult allegedly had done. So
when Seattle kind of became hard ass about it up here, it did spring stuff up in other towns, like Tacoma. There was like, I think at that time there was a place called Industrial Noise that was just this ratty old like biker sort of I don't know, warehouse space that was totally like they shouldn't have been having shows in there at all. Like all the walls, the drywall had rotted off and fallen down, and there was just trash and hobos and hobo poo and just like garbage everywhere. And what you had to do is stand in front of this big garage door and just kind of like try not to look conspicuous, and then all of a sudden it would open, and everybody that was there had to run in real quick, and they'd close the door, and they'd wait for more people to pack in, and then they'd open it, and keep letting people in all night. And I saw like D.I.Y there and a few other bands, but that was kind of, I think, the only thing going on at the time. And then when all this happened up here and they shut it all down, then like Community World Theater opened up, Natasha's, and then a place in Olympia called Gesco, and it actually helped South.
And all the kids that were straight edge at that time, that went out the window.
Prescription song, let's go.
of punk rock today and why it still has value is that it's got this thing where, you know, it kind of teaches you to be your own boss, think for yourself, make decisions for your life yourself. You know, work for yourself if you can, right? You know, not everybody can, but you know, you can get your own little thing going, right? And also be positive about the world, and try and affect some positive change. And I think that there's the core 10, depending on the town you're in, 10 to 30% really believe that and work for that, and that's what they want to get out of it when they go to a show or they converse with their friends or they do whatever, take part in a demonstration or try and help somebody out, you know. But with music, you know, when you get into like a big fad type thing, like a lot of punk rock is in a lot of towns, kids in high school, most of them are there because their friends are there. You know what I mean? And you know, 6 months from now, a year from now, they're going to drop off it, 80% of them, right? So, and only 10 to 20% will stay into it. But they'll have picked up a lot of it, but you know, about this thing, about thinking for yourself and being yourself. And I think that's the relevant part of it. And it's got nothing to do with like how old, how young you are, what you dress like.
Teenagers or kids that are going to come by it and be into it for the right reasons and not for like the commercial reasons. They're going to seek it out because that's truly how they feel or what they want to express. So yeah, I think it's still relevant, definitely.
Age, when you're in your teenage years, man, you got all this shit going through you, these hormones and this new stuff happening to you, and you're grounded, and your fucking parents won't let you go out, and it just, you know, it builds up, and it's gonna fucking blow up. And I think in that case, yeah, it is the same and it is relevant, but at the same time, to someone who's older like me, listening to some like political band or something like that, like okay, the Dead Kennedys aren't going to mean shit to these people. The Sex Pistols aren't going to mean shit to these people. The Ramones, that means the same to everybody, dude. Now I want to sniff some glue. Yeah. Fucking A.
That's cool. Snorting drugs is cool. Yeah. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
There's some kids that get into it for the same reasons as them, like pissed off kids, you know, do whatever. Then there's the kids that just get into it just because they think it's some cool trend or something.
Well, there's also just kids who are kind of bored with the way things are and they want something different. They hear this music and it offers new energy level from what they've heard before.
Just the alternative life.
It's kind of, to me, it doesn't mean as much because I don't even like to call myself a punk. I kind of like have nothing to do with it or try and keep myself out of it because I don't. When you think of punk, the image pops in my head just like getting wasted all the time and like getting stupid, and it just seems too like you're wasting your whole existence, it seems. I don't know, it has as much meaning as you put into it though.
Yeah, it's different for every person.
Yeah, well yeah, obviously. I think that's what you want then. A lot of the ethics and a lot of the politics that came out of it, and a lot of the things that can be said at a punk show and just how open it all is as like hopefully like not really around here right now, but hopefully if they became more of like almost a community event kind of thing, that there's so much, I don't know, punk has always got so much potential, and that it really depends on what people in a particular scene do with it.
Yeah, because you can have like a kid who has, like in a small town who has nothing, and he starts a band or he starts a zine, and all of a sudden he's got something, and that's punk rock. Like it's starting something out of nothing, and it's working towards like what other people are working against, you know, like exactly what you're standing for and making a point.
Exactly, it's totally relevant. It just depends on how relevant you make it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Whether there's one single thing that everyone can unite and fight, I don't think that's entirely true. You know, I mean, I guess we could pick the president in war as a real easy thing for every punk rocker to be kind of angry about, but I don't think every single person feels the same thing about the exact same things. You know, everyone's got their own personal politics and what they want to rebel against. Whether it be, you know, your mommy and daddy telling you to you know, make your bed before you go to school, your prep school in the morning. You know, I mean, people want to rebel regardless. If that's all they know, that's all they're going to do. Well, a lot of punks, I mean, they came from that, you know, they came from rich parents and shit like that. That's why they got into punk, was because it's such a far cry from what they were used to growing up. I mean, I didn't come from a rich family by any means, but I've known people that did. And they're fucking the craziest motherfuckers you ever met.
Yeah, because anything to burn over rich mommy and daddy, let's get under their skin.
They're like, yeah, let's fucking rob this store, because maybe I'll get arrested, and that will fucking piss my dad off.
I think it's definitely coming around again. I've got a theory on it. Like when things are nice and things are going well, bubblegum becomes prevalent. When people are angry, and especially, it seems to always swing that way in the Bush eras. People get upset and they start writing more expressive music and wanting to kind of stomp their foot rather than do a little dance, and it's coming around again. It seemed like through the whole Clinton era, things got real nice and people were just happy and people were just there's not really a whole lot you can be pissed off about and write about, but now that we've got Bush remix here going, people are getting upset again, and I'm noticing the swing back to hardcore and heavy music, and people wanting to shake their fist and
more mainstream.
I completely accept it. I mean,
But there's still there's still those elements that are
There's still shit out there cranked out now that comes out now that's still relatively good, and sure, absolutely. I mean,
but it's unfortunate that there's just that little bit, but it's just overshadowed by what. Right. Well, this is what it is, but it's really still this, and this still exists.
Yeah, I think it's still relevant, and I think there are bands out there that are really hard to discover. I sort of work at discovering new music that I can listen to, and that's inspiring to me. But it's more difficult than it was when I was a kid, because I'm not hanging around in it, and I have to find outside sources to find that stuff. And it's difficult for my kids to find new stuff. We're so saturated with the media, television, MTV. As little music as they actually have on that station anymore, but and then all the pitching that they do with the cross promotion between different products and movies and stuff, that it's difficult to find something that's not backed by one of the big money pushers. So I think there is music out there.
Certain bands, I think ones that are signed on the labels, I don't know, I think they have to kind of develop a certain sound, and the sounds change. I mean, there's like a band like Billy Talent, for example, is classified as a punk band. I mean, I don't think I'd call them a punk band. No, they're not. But they have that kind of, I mean, but it's not our style. We're more, I think we go to the roots of rock and roll. Like, rock and roll is only as old as me, it's like 50 years. And I think it's a fucking great medium, and it's going to be bigger than classical music. And everybody raves about classical music, how great it is. Classical music is all fucking it's horrible stuff. It's all imperialist drivel. It's all written for kings and rich fucks. And, people just treat it as some kind of hallowed stuff. But I think that rock and roll is going to surpass it, because it's only 50 years old. Who knows what people are going to draw from the last 50 years and take it into the next centuries. And it's a worldwide thing. I mean, that's another thing about rock and music, that 4/4 beat. It's a universal beat. You talk to Native people, and I work with a lot of Native people, and it's the same as the drumming. It's the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And that 4/4 beat is in rock, in punk. And to be really true, it's got to be honest and straightforward. And I think as long as you're doing that, you can do no wrong. It also helps to write good songs. There's a lot of punk bands can't write worth of shit. But that's probably, secondary to what they really want to achieve. But to me, it's about rock and roll. It's rock, it's rock and roll music. The way it should be played. The way it was played in the 50s, even today, And to me, it's constantly changing. I mean, I'm into all kinds of new music today that my kids turn me on to, or that I've discovered on my own. Like, I really love Trail of Dead, the Ponies. I mean, there's so many good bands out there, tons. And a lot of them carry that flame, that spark. They're not sort of too commodified or contrived, they still have it. And it's because, it's about not compromising, just I know what I want to do. I'm gonna fucking do it. It's like Picasso. Nobody told Picasso how to draw. Your figures are kind of weird. These angular heads. Some idiot would say, okay, I'll make the heads rounder. But whatever. It's just doing your own thing and being true to it, to the sound. And to the muse, because it is out there. It's like I said, it's this universal music, and I think it'll save the fucking world, actually, rock and roll, because it transcends boundaries. But people fight it all the way, because it's rebellious in its essence, right?
Here's the only song we ever fucking recorded, and it wasn't my idea.
fucker in the blue car. No! Hey, you, mellow the fuck out. I know it's one of you motherfuckers.
Hey.
He's getting upset.
Hey, Neil, it is a party. I think you know to relax.
Punk rock means thinking for yourself, being your own boss, taking control of your life, making a positive change in this world, doing something right there, brothers and sisters. That's what it means to me.
Freedom just to express myself and do what I want to do without feeling without feeling attacked or criticized. Just be able to express my inner feelings without embarrassment. But I guess that's what, that's what it means to me.
They were, 14, first punk rockers were 14, and they were pissed at their parents, and they hated school, and they hated they never wanted to go to church, and they wanted their parents and family members to understand that, or parents and teachers to understand this, and all I want to fucking do is pick up my guitar and write a song about it, and I think that maybe that's what punk rock is too. It's just it's a angry teenager. That's it. It's an angry teenager that doesn't want to be angry.
I think there's an element. I think there's an element of change in there. I mean, I think the angry teenager, because you got pissed off teenagers that just go and. But it seems like punk rock. There's a weird level of intelligence to it. It's like you have the angry teenager that just wants to get fucked up and drive his car fast, and he usually ends up listening to Boston and Leonard Skinner.
Yeah. I think
so I think that's the difference. It's
an angry teenager that wants to play music.
What inspired us to leave the small town where we grew up and come to a big city and be exposed to a lot of new experiences and culture, and I think we grew a lot in those years. We did a lot of travel, and we met a lot of people that we would never have met otherwise. It was an exciting time. When I look back at those couple of years, it was some of the funnest years of my life. It was some good times, and we met some great people, and it's fun to connect with them again, and we've kept in touch, through the whole time, and we always go back to talking about things that we did back then. It's what we always do.
For me, it's even more than that. It's I've kind of applied to every single thing in my whole life, because it's just saying no. I'm not just gonna do the same thing that everybody else does. Everybody around me seems like they're doing the same fucking thing, and that just sounds so boring to me. Everything that is normal bores me. I want to go do something that's totally different and way cooler, and change things and make things better. And express myself and get new ideas and things like that.
For me, punk rock was a way out. It was, that's not going to stop right there. It was, I was going to school at Bellevue Christian High School. My dad worked at Boeing, my mom had been an Avon lady, worked at Olympic Stain, and the people around me seemed to have no passion in their lives. There's and they seemed to kind of just sort of follow a path that had been laid out for them by someone else. They were working for someone else. They were going to church like a bunch of sheep or lemmings, just believing this thing that, God has been at least 2,000 years since this thing happened, how much of this, you know, is even true? You know, how much of like, from the point of like when the origin of like, you know, when Christ walked the earth, what he said and did, how many generations has this been like fucked with and changed from like the original seed of like what he actually said, right? You know, how has this thing like been completely perverted by now? It's like, you know, the gossip game when you're a kid. You know, you sit around in a circle. You're told to tell one sentence, or you know, the person next to you, and it gets around 20 people. By the time it gets back to you, it's completely different. Imagine that happening over 2,000 years. You know, and it's become this ritualized, fucked up thing that's completely wrong. It's got to be. It's got to be. And that was just nothing that I really wanted a part in, you know, and I wasn't happy with like the music that was being fed to me in the radio, you know, the thoughts that were being fed to me in school or in church or whatever, you know, or my parents. And punk rock was like my generation's succinct alternative. It had like, you know, all these different viewpoints, points of view, all these different possibilities. You know, it had everything from like the most dunderheaded, stupid, fuck you reaction to like clearly thought out, you know, like ideas on politics, like crass or really red, you know. It could be stupid and it could be incredibly smart. And I don't know, it just kind of opened my eyes to other possibilities and other things.
Broad thing that you can't really, I mean, it's a lot of things. It's just rock and roll. Basically, it's another form of rock and roll. You know, it got, in the late 70s, or early 70s, it started to be, music just started to get boring. And it was the new thing. It's just rock and roll.
But punk rock to me, I guess, is you know, I mean, I guess it's just a dumb little feeling in your heart, and you carry it with you wherever you go, and there's a passion to it, and it's a feeling that, you know, that it's a high energy feeling that makes you feel alive, and you know. I mean, you know, the blues can give that to you too, and so can jazz and rock and roll and classical, I guess. But I've gravitated towards punk because I guess just because I relate to it so much more than any other kind of music. Generally, just because I think of its, you know, because of its individual, you know, its individualism.
Don't mean what it used to.
So, I think it means like just being yourself, being an individual. But it's kind of hard being an individual punk rock since everything's already been done. But I just think it's just being true to yourself, pretty much.
Well, I think it's, yeah, do that, and also it's just a fast-paced culture for like fast-paced kids. You know? The other stuff just doesn't quite get them there.
I think punk rock to me, I was a weird kid when I was growing up. I wasn't like everyone else, so I was like, well, I don't want to be like them, so I kind of saw the punk rock stuff, and I was like, I want to be just like them, so I was like, I'm going to punk rock. It was kind of an alternative thing than all the other kids.
I don't know if I could say it in one sentence. I could say it in one picture. I remember Punk West?
Yeah.
Willem Pugmire.
A little fanzine around Seattle. It's called Punk West.
Yeah, Punk West. It was so, and he had on his back cover, there was a drawing that somebody had done, a black and white drawing of like some punk rock guy just like screaming on the guitar, like some couple of hot girls in like go-go boots, just like screaming and tearing their hair out, and like, you know, the bottles with the 2 X's on it, and you know, it's just like that epitomized punk rock to me, right? You know, it's just get together and it's not even care what the music is about, really, and it's just fucking go crazy.
Yeah, basically, I think just being who you want to be and doing whatever you want to do it, whenever you want to do it, and not caring about the consequences. That's what it was to me.
Doing it for yourself. Making things happen without relying on anybody else.
Seriously, yeah. What punk rock for me? Punk rock is like it is a lifestyle. I've been into it my whole life, and even though it's like I don't really listen to like as much punk as I should, I listen to everything that I can get my hands on that I like. But punk rock is like, to me, it's a lifestyle. It's a choice. It's a ideology, and it's the way we can help this world, I think, with what we got out of it. And two of the great things that I got out of punk rock, like the D.I.Y. ethics and anarchism, I think, is my personal view on that. And it's a good way to like, sure we could write, you know, maybe I'll jam in a country band and write political songs, but this way it's a great vehicle for us to get a message out through this, which is fun. You know, because I'd much rather play an all-ages punk show than be jamming with some fucking fusion jam band in some bar where, you know, people there definitely aren't interested in our, you know, our political message or whatnot.
Going against the grain, just rubbing the hair the wrong way on the dog.
It is.
Being yourself and doing what you want to do.
Being a community.
Hopefully being a community. Enjoy yourself without hurting anybody else. Do what you want. Be respectful. Do it yourself every time you can. And it's not about money.
Life. Just live. Freedom. Individualism.
Self-expression.
Punk rock is doing it yourself.
What is punk rock to me? Punk rock is not what it used to be.
Punk rock is hatred. Like
Love each other.
What I feel to him now. Punk rock. Hatred. And spit on you.
Just to have fun with my friends. That's what it's all about.
Having fun with your friends, that's pretty punk. That's this.
You could say that about baseball.
Come on, man, you're fucked.
What does baseball mean? Just have fun with my friends.
I'm political. I don't have a fucking political agenda. That's not what it's about for me.
Cut
Do it because it's fun. Yeah. Sorry for having fun.
Why you know, black. You don't have to have a cool car. You don't have to be rich.
But if you were, that would be great.
That would be great. But you know, you belong no matter what. And it just so happens that the music is that.
2 words. Starts with fuck and ends with you.
I think so. Definitely.
Any more than that, if you're gonna write anything more or less, or if you're gonna write more into it than that, then those are all giant personal issues that have nothing to do with punk
Yeah, I
rock.
think that pretty much boils it down. It's attitude.
Absolutely.
And that just boils down to just like...
Not man's inhumane man, strife against man or animals or religion, or no, none of that. Not even to get your feet too fucking wet into politics.
Because that was never about politics, really.
No.
There was always a fuck you. There was
Yes.
the swastikas and the
Darn, it wasn't a... We're
who are you going to piss off?
Right, it was inflammatory, just to stiffen a neck or to piss somebody off. And I tell you, just something as simple as a fuck you t-shirt will bring it on, too. Especially
Not
you,
about
young
the spike.
boy.
It's not about the spiky hair and the peg leg black jeans and the spiked belt.
No, that many hours in the the antithesis of that, too.
Don't want to think it too much. Yeah, the sound of it. I mean, that, you know, in another 2 words, you know, for me, that's what it was. When I first heard, you know, like Black Flag or, you know, just the sound of it was like, I don't know. It's like when you see a black and white photo, you know, it's just weird. It's like there's something about it, you can't put your finger on it. But it was...
That and it makes you mad
it was
in a good way. break something because I'm happy.
Pretty much. Blow off some steam, have a good time.
Punk rock is life.
Punk rock means fuck you to anyone who doesn't understand having a good time. It's all about having a good time. You know, it's not about spiking your mohawk up or how many studs you have in your jacket, you know. Yeah, fuck you. Yep.
I don't know. I think it was a kind of a brief moment of freedom when everything got shaken up and rearranged slightly. Maybe it wasn't an explosive revolution or anything like that, but it was like an opening up of a space temporarily that people could do things in.
To me, it means a roll in the hay with a young Bridget Bardot.
Punk rock means to me, I'm gonna go get a beer right now.
It's just a deviation from the crowd.
Punk to me is uncompromising, do it yourself, believe in yourself, and it'll all happen. Write some decent fucking songs. And keep the volume up.
Punk rock is dead.